I booked a weekend for me and my GF in London in order to go and see a concert. Paid about €250 for her since she couldn't afford it herself. The day before leaving, I went down to the bank to withdraw some English pounds, and I called her and asked if I should withdraw some for her and she could give me cash for it later. She replied, well, yeah, I don't have a lot of money right now, and I was a bit confused. Anyway, I told her she could borrow money from me and pay Med back later. She still sounded hesitant and agreed that I could withdraw £50 for her. Way too little to last the entire weekend. So I went home and started packing. Didn't hear from her for a couple of hours. And when the clock was 8 p.m., we were leaving at 8 a.m. the day after, and I could not reach her. I got a bit scared. She had been acting strange all day, and now she wasn't answering my calls. So I tried calling her about 15 to 20 times. No answer. I called her little brother, but he didn't know where she was. I found out the number to her best friend and called her. And well, I was almost crying. I asked her where my GF was and explained that I was taking her to London. The friend's answer, I didn't talk much to her friends, was yeah. I heard something about somebody taking her to London. I don't know where she is. And she sounded just as strange as my GF did earlier. So I called the police. Nobody knew where my GF was and I was scared that something had happened. They told me that I needed to go and check her apartment and wait 24 hours before reporting her as missing. So I took my car and drove to her house all terrified. Ran into her apartment and found her in bed with another dude. I just turned and walked out. Got into the car and drove home crying. Called her friend again and just asked her WTF was going on. Apparently my GF had been cheating on me for 2 of the 5 years we had been together. Talked to her once after that, and her explanation was, well, I loved you both in different ways. Have not talked to her since that, and I have on top of that moved abroad and traveled the world. She is still, as far as I know, stuck in the same old town as before. TL. Dr. GF cheated on me for 2 years and made me discover her in bed with the other dude after. I almost reported her missing to the police. I had been dating a girl for about 4 years and she seemed perfect. We had been living together for 2 years and had no relationship problems that I was really aware of. We both took jobs in a different state, the same company, same town, and we're going to move in about 6 months or so. My job required me to go and complete training in a completely different state until then. So I say goodbye to my fiancé and travel off to this 3rd state where I live on a shoestring in order to finance our almost cross-country move. While I'm away, my fiancé starts telling me that she's been spending a lot of time with this female friend of mine that I introduced her to. My fiancé was bisexual, and we had discussions about certain openness in our relationship, so I wasn't worried. In fact, I was happy that she wasn't as lonely as she kept telling me she was. After about 6 months, I traveled back home. My fiancé doesn't greet me at the door. In fact, she had my only key and didn't answer her phone, so I had to sit outside of our apartment with my luggage, waiting for 30 minutes. Eventually, aforementioned mutual friend drives up. My fiancé gets out, and the friend leaves without a word or a wave. My fiancé tells me she had forgotten that I was getting in that day, despite me having emailed her earlier. I shrug it off, and we go inside and keep packing. We packed for about a week, and the whole time she refused to sleep at our apartment, claiming that it was too uncomfortable to sleep on a foam mattress on the floor, and stayed at her now girlfriend's place. At the end of the week, we loaded up a truck and drove to our new state. Things seemed fine. She was smiling and happy. We got to the apartment that I had paid for in advance. A 2-story apartment with a fireplace, balcony, the works. It was supposed to be the stepping stone for a new life. She seemed happy, started unpacking her suitcase, set our cats out to explore. I started unloading the truck. 3 days later, I had finally finished unloading the truck. The fridge had food, the couches and bed were set up. The place was looking close to a real home. She was aloof, quiet. I kept asking what was wrong. She wouldn't tell me. She refused to talk. I tried to sit next to her and talk, but she said she was fine and she just needed to be quiet and alone for a bit. I said sure, if that's what she wanted then I'd let her have it. I went to bed somewhat early as I had unpacked most of the truck by myself. I woke up at 5 a.m. to a text message from her saying, "I'm safe." One note. I immediately start crying because any idiot knows this means bad news. The note was a 2-page letter that was held to the fridge downstairs by a magnet. It was a long treatise about how she never really loved me and only started dating me as a rebound and then stayed with me when she realized I treated her better than anyone else had and that I was able to give her the best ex she had ever had in her life. She noted that she came to the conclusion, with the help of her new girlfriend, that she didn't love me ever. And in fact, according to her girlfriend, I was abusive and she needed to leave me for someone else. The gist of the letter was that I should feel bad about how bad of a person I was been and that I needed to be out of the apartment by the time she got back from her ski vacation a week's time or else she would make me get out. This is where my life fell apart. I was in a new town that I had only been in for about 4 days. I had no money because I spent it all on my cross-country move. And now I was homeless. I didn't want to fight because I was tired and emotionally destroyed. I was supposed to spend my life with this woman. So I started packing up my car, at least I had a car, and went to work as usual and spent most of the next couple of days looking for a new apartment. I eventually just threw in the towel and moved back to where I was living prior. Thankfully, I was able to keep my new job. However, the emotional scars still run deep, as I'm sure they do for a lot of people posting here. And I still have deep and powerful trust issues, and am highly paranoid without warrant. Sorry for the wall of text. Edit, fiance leaves me a letter after 4 years telling me she never loved me and was only with me for the ex. She then kicks me out of the apartment in a new city with no money. This is one long story, but the coincidence is astounding. I am from a tiny province in the Philippines who decided to work in Manila right after college way back, 2007. I got into a call center and met a lot of friends. Stayed in the company for about 2 years. Graveyard shift wasn't for me. Fast forward to 2013. My widowed mom in the province. Met through a mutual friend, a French guy, and they both got interested with each other. They eventually got engaged in 2014 and married soon after 90 DF France, so they could move back to France as they were planning their trip. I posted on social media about possible Filipino connections in France to help my mom transition well. A former colleague of mine in that call center in Manila many years back sent me a message, told me that she has this Filipina friend, let's call her Rowena, who has been living in France for 20 plus years now and that she may be able to help my mom. So I told my mom to add Rowena on Facebook and connect with her. They did, and they got into talking. One day my mom was Skyping with her. They were talking about their husbands when my mom pulled out and showed to her a vintage photo of her husband when he was in university. An old photo of him sitting on a couch with his then best friend, whom he has not seen since graduating. Career opportunities abroad, and no cell phones during that time led to them growing apart. As soon as Rowena saw the photo, she gasped, "That's my husband beside your husband," she said. She then hurriedly went to her office and took out the exact same photo, which her husband has kept through the years as well. After a few shocks and tears, two long-lost best friends were able to catch up after nearly 40 years. TL, doctor. By amazing coincidence, two best friends found each other through their wives. For context, I'm a 19-year-old Scottish guy who was interrailing around Europe for a month. We were in Budapest for a few days hitting up the clubs and parties. really enjoying ourselves. Eventually, it comes time to leave and we decide to get in early. Morning train to split around 5 a.m. Anyways, we have two taxis, book to the train station, and we stumble out still kind of half asleep and start loading our stuff into the taxis. As we're loading, we see three young guys sprinting full speed ahead up the road shouting fucking run. We laughed, thought they were just having drunk fun. No, they were not. As we get in the taxis, this guy covered head to toe in tattoos and others. Blood comes to my door and asks to shake my hand. Not wanting to offend this crazy-looking fucker, I shake his bloodied hand and he wishes me well. Phew, got off lightly. Guy tries to do the same with our big fuck-off Bulgarian taxi driver. He refuses. Bulgarian taxi driver gets in taxi and starts to back out. Crazy fuck is not happy with this and starts to go to town on this guy's taxi with elbows, fists, knees, etc. We start to drive away thinking there's no chance he's gonna be bothered to follow a taxi going 20 miles per hour. Right? Now this fuck is fucking Superman. Sprints faster than humanly possible after our taxi with this mad look in his eye. Taxi driver goes to turn a corner, thinking we'd got away from him. But as we turn, there's a bin lorry blocking the entire road. Crazy fuck rounds this corner like an atom out the fucking Hadron Collider. At this point, I'm shouting half asleep Scottish at our taxi driver. Lock a fucking doors, which he thankfully does. Crazy fuck starts battering the windows in with fists. Blood smeared everywhere. Knuckles burst. Rips off the wing mirrors. Starts smashing the windows in with them. At this point, our friends in the taxi behind us are buckled in laughter as we sit in pure terror as the fucking Grim Reaper looms ready to take our souls. Both taxi drivers get out to get him to fuck off. Spits in both their faces and throws the wing mirror at them, then books it out of there. Maddest thing about it is, as he was leaving, he very nicely apologizes to one of the locals watching this in awe. TLDR, don't refuse handshakes from men covered in blood. It's rude. Here goes. It's quite a long one. I'm from Belgium and have traveled a lot with my parents when I was younger. When I was still together with my ex-GF, we traveled a lot as well. But neither of us had been to the USA. So we told this to a befriended couple and a few beers. Later, we started planning a trip to go on together because another mutual friend was studying in Philadelphia for a year and we might as well go visit him. First, we went to New York and Philly for a few days, then took a plane to LA, rented a car, and took a road trip to Cali, Nevada, and Utah. During this road trip, we'd often laugh about some of the dumb shit we'd heard or seen people do in America. We had a bunch of jokes about people in smaller villages and all kind of crazy stuff they might do. We had just been to Sequoia National Park, and we were looking for a place to spend the night and eat because it was getting late. Found some old farmhouse where we could stay in one of the fixed-up cabins and asked the old lady who rented it to us where we could go and eat something. Mind you, this little town was called Pinehurst and had an extremely low population. She pointed us to the Pinehurst Lodge, which was basically the only restaurant for a store 4 miles. Went there, ate an amazing meal, and decided to grab some drinks afterwards and shoot some pool. As we were playing pool, this old giant approaches us wearing a jeans shirt that said George W. Bush. Picture of an eagle. He had a bushy mustache, looked very tough for his age, and we thought he was going to give us trouble about using the pool table and laughing too hard. He is to this day one of the kindest people I've ever met. He asked if we were having fun and if he could join us. He bought us moonshine, which we obviously thought was hilarious, and we bought him a few beers as well. Had a blast the entire evening while we were playing and drinking. The phone behind the counter kept ringing, but none of us was paying attention to it. By 23:30, all of a sudden, a woman comes barging in with a gun in her hand, looks at us, and stomps over. I felt myself getting nervous and getting ready to react if I had to. She stops behind our new friend, grabs an empty beer bottle and smashes it on his head. We were all perplexed with what happened. She proceeded to shout insults at the man and started hitting him. He calmly tells her to relax, turns towards us, shook our hands, told us that if we ever came back to be sure, to let him know so we could hang out again, and then went outside with the woman. As we stood there, still trying to understand what just happened, the woman at the bar just shouts at us, "That's his wife. He's a bit of a social butterfly," and she had already called 10 times to ask when he'd come home. We thought it was pretty cool and all, so we told her, "Oh, okay. We're just going to leave as well then. It's getting quite late." "Oh, no, my dearies. It's best you stay a little while longer. The shouting you hear outside is still them arguing. And I can tell she's quite pissed at you guys because she blames you that he hadn't come home yet. And I have to say it wouldn't be the first time. She shot at someone for keeping him too long at the bar. So best you stay a little bit until they leave." So we say about 30 more minutes, all the while they keep shouting outside. Then we hear a car start and see a white truck speed off. Within seconds, we see a second truck speed after the first one. This was in the mountains, with very narrow and bendy roads. Both cars just leaving at an insane speed. We hear the bartender say, "She drives our children to school with the bus, you know." This would never happen at home. 100% would go back to Pinewood Lodge in a few years. Edit, it was Pinehurst. Check link in comments and can confirm that was the place. Also National Park and not natural. I used to open letters for a state-run bureau. We had a dedicated unit of people just opening letters all day long by the ton. For some reason, a person not in the right mind started to send letters with human feces in them. Perhaps as a form of retaliation. I do not know. This went on for weeks, if not months. Certain units had to use disposable gloves and face masks in case of number to letters. For my inconvenience, I was one who had the honors to open one of this perpetrator's mail. This time it was different. Along with the poo, something rolled out of the envelope. Something shiny. With the aid of some hand disinfectant and paper towels, I cleaned this tiny, round and golden piece of metal. This poop person sent a gold coin from the tilde, 17th, tilde 19th century along with his excrement. The coin is small, around 2 grams, but it appears to be solid gold. I doubt that the person who lost this item is willing to get it back, since sending human feces to a bureau is considered a crime. The coin itself is not worth that much. But this is by far the most ridiculous story I have to tell from my previous mind-numbing job as a bureaucrat. And this, kids, is how I got myself a gold coin.
Okay, coffee beans. Um, Another warning just in case. None of those stories belong to me, and I didn't really read through all the stories. And so when I did see some cuss words or something that shouldn't be in the video, I did edit that out and cut it out. But yeah, we completed night 2. Night 3 will be posted probably Monday or Tuesday. But yeah, we completed night 2. Night 3 is gonna be a challenge. As always, live, laugh, love, and I'll see you in the next video, coffee beans.